office was created in 2006 with the passage of Mayor Bloomberg's solid waste management plan, and we were specifically created in the Council on the Environment of New York City, which is a 38-year-old not-for-profit organization in the mayor's office, founded by Mayor Lindsay in 1970. In addition to our office, the Council on the Environment has three other major programs. We operate and manage the green markets, farmers markets throughout New York City. We also have an environmental education program and an open space greening program. The Office of Recycling Outreach and Education is the newest component. While our primary focus is on the residential curbside recycling program operated by the Department of Sanitation, today we're going to focus in, because this is a business summit, really focus in more on opportunities to increase commercial recycling, waste diversion, and waste reduction. For those who are unfamiliar with the characteristics of New York City's waste stream, we generate approximately 50,000 tons of solid waste every day in New York City. The bulk of that is commercially generated waste. The Department of Sanitation is responsible for collecting garbage and recyclables from residential buildings, mayoral agency facilities, and public institutions. All commercial businesses in New York City are required by law to recycle. The requirements will vary depending on whether you are a food service establishment or a non-food service establishment. Food service establishments are required to recycle aluminum cans, glass bottles and jars, plastic bottles and jugs, as well as corrugated cardboard. All other non-food establishments are only required by law to recycle paper items. So obviously there's a lot left on the table. And one issue too with commercial recycling is some of the dynamics of just building ownership and management and who actually controls garbage contracts within a particular facility. If you're a large enough corporation like a Time Inc., where you own your own building, you have a little bit more liberty because you actually control the operations of your business. If you're a business that is renting a floor in a commercial establishment, you very often have very little control over recycling or waste management in your particular office. So our speakers today will address some of those issues. But I think what people often overlook is we know that waste disposal and often recycling has a cost associated with it. There's a direct financial cost to waste management for any kind of a facility. But unfortunately, recycling has pretty much always been put under the economic scrutiny of profitability, where waste disposal is not. And quite frankly, if it costs less to recycle after you factor in the revenues for a material than to dispose of it, it's more beneficial to recycle it. And despite the direct economic cost, there's also an environmental cost with the choices you make about waste management. Very often that's not factored in to the economic equation. And particularly as economic times get tougher, the recycling industry has been affected as well. For those of you that follow waste management issues, we've seen dramatically declining and rapidly declining prices in commodity values for the major commodities that are purchased. But quite frankly, on the residential side, by virtue of New York City's long-term contracts, we are somewhat insulated from those market dynamics. So where other cities are put into a situation where they're warehousing paper items because they can't move it, New York City has had no disruption in our ability to move the almost 7,000 tons of paper the Department of Sanitation collects every week. And for the 50% of the paper that we collect that goes to the Pratt Industries mill in Staten Island, not only has there been no disruption in flow, the city still gets a positive revenue on that material. That's about twice what most other cities are getting right now. But the 50% of the paper that goes to that Pratt mill, from the time it's tipped off the back of a sanitation truck, it's a brand new box, printed and ready to go to a manufacturer within about 6 hours. Again, by virtue of that long-term contract, on the non-paper side, for what we call the MGP portion of our stream, which is your containers and your metal items and beverage cartons and things like that, the revenue value is factored in sort of formulaically to the value that the city pays as contracted processors. So while we've seen commodity prices in some cases drop 80%, while the charge to the city of New York will go up under the contract, that will only go up maybe on incrementally $4 or $5 a ton, where programs that are truly commodity based are seeing they're losing on the order of $100, $150, $200 a ton on particular commodities. So in any event, today what we'd like to talk about is some of the potential positive economics of increasing diversion at commercial businesses, what some of your options are in terms of more efficient handling. And our first speaker this morning